Welcome back to the garage. In today's episode on Project E39, we're going to be doing the VANOS service as well as replacing the valve cover gaskets and changing the spark plugs. So the VANOS system on the M54 BMW engine is BMW's proprietary term for variable valve timing. So what this variable valve timing does is gives you a little extra oomph in the low RPM. Now, as I've driven this car around just a little bit, I've noticed that there's some hesitation, some lurching in the low RPM, especially prominent in first gear, and that's typically a sign that the VANOS seals are starting to break down. So the whole system is operated through oil pressure, and pressure is maintained by these O-rings in the VANOS system itself. So that is what's part of servicing the system. If you're just now joining us on Project E39, be sure to check out the link in the description below to see the entire series from start to now. Before we start digging in, let's check out the parts we need to do this job. So to start things off, we have the entire VANOS rebuild kit. So this includes new VANOS seals and washers and the sealing gasket for the entire assembly, as well as anti-rattle springs. It's just a good idea to replace these while you're in there. Now, the car isn't experiencing any sort of strange rattling noises that I can tell, but I figure I might as well replace them while I'm in there. This is sold as a kit. And then we have a valve cover gasket kit that also includes the new bolt O-rings, and then a set of 6 NGK spark plugs. So that's about it for this particular job. As you can see in the previous videos, we've stripped down the engine bay, cleaned it up a bit, so that now we're ready to attack the VANOS system, which is this assembly right here on the front of the engine. You have 2 electric solenoids that control the oil pressure going in and out of the system. Now to get started, we will have to remove the valve covers, the spark plugs, coil packs, and some various wires to pull this assembly out of there. So let's go ahead and get started. Now that we have the valve cover off, we can get a good glimpse on the inside of it. And you can see that there's kind of this brown sludge that has collected there. And that is because this car has been subjected to a lot of short trips, and condensation starts building up and it kind of mixes with the oil and it gives you that brown milky sludge right there. Similar to what you'd see if you blew a head gasket, but this is just because short trips creates condensation in the engine and it doesn't burn off. In fact, I think that's why my CCV system is on its way out, is because it's just clogged with this substance. So I'm going to give this a good clean on the inside and outside so it's ready to go back in. And the inside of this engine looks very, very clean, so that's good. The next step is to start removing this assembly on the front side. So now that I've got the VANOS assembly taken apart, there's something interesting going on, and probably not very good going on inside of this particular piston seal bore. There's some sort of sticky buildup inside of it. Don't know what would have caused that. It's almost like a gasket sealer, a non-setting gasket sealer. But it's not in the other bore, at least that I can tell. If we look at the piston, you see there's a lot of this buildup right here. It's not the O-ring disintegrating, it's just some sort of other material. It's just like sludge. I don't know. But either way, it's a good thing I got in here and started cleaning this up, because that for sure will cause stiction or something of this moving in and out of that bore. So obviously everything's very oily. I'm going to clean this all up and then we can start replacing the seals. All right, so everything's pretty well cleaned up. Used some engine degreaser and then just rinsed it off with water. Used compressed air to make sure all of the oil passages were cleared out and dry. So got rid of all that black gunk that had built up. Now, unfortunately, the VANOS rebuild kit did not come with new piston cap gaskets like this, so I've cleaned these up because I will be reusing these. These are metal gaskets, so it's probably okay to reuse these anyways, but that is one downside to this kit that I got. Cleaned up all of these. Pistons look good. So the next step I'm going to do is replace the anti-rattle bearings in here. And to do that, I need to put this into the bench vise, which has soft grip jaws on it, which is critical if you're going to be doing this because you don't want to mar up this surface. So I'm going to tighten this into the vise and then unscrew this nut right here. All right, so that's one bearing replaced. You just repeat the exact same thing on the other piston. All right, so these are the old bearings. The bearings themselves don't necessarily look that worn, but the races, you can see, have definitely some pitting and some wear marks in there. This one actually has a ring along the bottom. So that's good that I did it. I don't know if it'll make any difference, but at least I know there's new ones in there. All right, now it's time to fit new O-rings to the pistons. All right, so you just do the exact same thing to the other one. So I installed the pistons in these cylinders just to make sure that the seals were seated properly. So now that that's done, I'm going to do the same on the other seals inside of these housings. Now that the VANOS system's reinstalled, it's time to change out the spark plugs. All right, so that is all put back together, and that wraps it up for this video. We got the VANOS system service, got new valve cover gasket on there, and new spark plugs. Now in the next video, we're going to be attacking the CCV system and all the related hoses, and also any other things we encounter along the way, such as the oil filter housing gasket and a few other things. So be on the lookout for that video here soon. Until then, we'll see you all again next time.